This is a breaking news alert from 24-Hour News 8.
And good afternoon again, everyone. Breaking news we're following right now. Several buildings damaged by a severe storm in Portland.
We do have new video coming in from the scene. Among the buildings damaged, the Goodwill, Rite Aid, and a church. This is on East Grand River Avenue on the east side of Portland. The good news is that so far we have not heard of any injuries. We do have multiple crews that are just arriving in Portland to assess the damage there. Let's go live now to 24-Hour News 8's Joe LaFurgey. Joe?
Sue, we are just coming up on the area where those buildings were damaged on Grand River. We came in from the west side into Portland, and I can tell you there are numerous trees down throughout neighborhoods in the city. A lot of people are walking around. Traffic's at a standstill in most areas. Large trees uprooted, a lot of damage, and we're just passing by the church you mentioned as well and seeing some damage there. But again, mostly right now, tree damage and that sort of thing. We have yet to make it to the Rite Aid and the Goodwill store that apparently had suffered quite a bit of damage as well. I can tell you that the streets are packed here in Portland between the emergency workers and the people just out and about looking around and trying to get a glimpse of everything. Ionia County Central Dispatch has been sending out several messages on their Facebook page. It confirmed a short time ago that there were no injuries. It didn't appear to be any injuries thus far, which is good news here, especially when you see some of this damage throughout the town. And again, they're telling people to just stay clear of Portland as best you can. Stay out of the area, keep the streets open for all those emergency vehicles and all the heavy equipment that has to be in, because several of the residential streets are covered with tree branches and trees themselves. I saw one tree uprooted, and I'm guessing the root, bottom of that root was probably a good 20 feet wide and took a lot of earth with it when it came down. Big, old trees. Several of them down. You can tell there's a certain path. It looked like an easterly path the storm took through, coming through Portland. But again, if you don't come here, if you don't have to be here, don't come here, because they are really having a traffic problem, as you can tell when you're driving through here. Just getting everybody through and keeping everybody safe. Obviously, now power lines are going to be a concern as well. So we are just reaching the site where that collapse happened, where the buildings were damaged. And we're a few blocks out, so we're going to try to make our way there as well and give you an update here shortly.
Okay, Joe, thanks for the latest on that. We understand that standing water is a problem in that area too. And we were noticing in that video, Joe, that some of the residential homes in that area have been affected, right. Not just those businesses we were talking about. But the good news so far is that no injuries reported.
And this is the area, if you're familiar with downtown Portland, we're talking about that area where the Rite Aid is, where the Huntington Bank is, the McDonald's. It's a packed business district, so it seems to have collected right over that general area. You can see the insulation's been blown out of some of these houses. The roofs have been torn off, some debris, and there looks like a collapse of that particular structure. We want to go to a storm teammate meteorologist Kyle Underwood. What is this being judged as right now?
It's tough to say. We had some strong winds there. I've had some reports, not only from viewers, but also witnesses there saying, hey, we think we saw a tornado. When we look at the debris pictures, it's not conclusive, but it certainly looks like this could have been a tornado. You know, one thing we often look for is lofted insulation and lofted
debris that gets picked up off the ground.
Yeah, we're seeing some of that. Let me show you Storm Track Live right now. Here's the good news. We're doing cleanup. It looks like the rescue effort is over. Everybody is safe at this point, but we're doing some cleanup in Portland and some other areas. The storms have pushed out. This line is now done. The severe weather threat for West Michigan for now is over. However, let me show you a visible satellite. We're starting to see things clear out. We're starting to see some sunshine pop through, especially over Lake Michigan, over parts of Wisconsin, now into West Michigan. What's happening is this is further destabilizing the atmosphere, and it's entirely possible that upstream we see another round of strong thunderstorms push through, and that's what we could be looking at later tonight. And Bill's going to walk us through that hour by hour.
Yeah, it's not a sure thing, but most of our computer models leaning toward another line of thunderstorms coming through this evening, along with the cold front coming in our direction. So we can go over
Graphics
to the graphics 2 there and be able to show you how this is going to unfold.
Graphics 1.
Graphics 1. We're on graphics 1. If we can take a look at that right there. This is 7 o'clock. We've already got showers and thunderstorms developing. When they first develop, you have to watch out for the possibility of hail, an isolated tornado that may occur with these as they continue to move. And then as time goes on, this kind of gels into a line. And as you can see here, we'll be able to show you the storms coming on through. There it is over Grand Rapids at the current time, at 9 o'clock, and you can see there's some very heavy rain with these. The stronger colors there are the reds and the magentas, that pinkish purple color indicating very heavy rain over Ionia once again, Grand Rapids area. And then as this continues on, we go to around midnight hour, and there's the line coming through Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, south of Lansing, and in another couple of hours by around 2 a.m., this is clearing Branch County, moving east out of the area. So we certainly have a window for more thunderstorms, probably between about 6 o'clock and around midnight to 2 a.m. would be the time frame that we'd be looking at here for additional storms. Any of these storms could contain some gusty winds, possibility of some small hail, even an isolated tornado.
Okay, and we have meteorologist Ellen Baca on the way right now. Also, from our affiliate WLNS in Lansing, meteorologist Jim Geyer is on scene right now. We have him on the phone. Jim, can you describe what you're seeing out there right now?
Well, there's quite a bit of destruction out here, this tornado, and it does look like it was a tornado just being here on the ground. I see that there's quite a bit of damage to the Goodwill, just about destroyed. Then the damage path goes across the main drag to another building. 2 buildings are destroyed. There's a house behind those buildings that are destroyed. We've got tree branches that are snapped off and down, and these are trees that are about 50 to 60 feet tall. About snapped in half. And as I was coming this way from Lansing, this was after the tornado had gone through, I came through a lot of debris. There was quite a bit of the insulation and other debris, even a couple of pieces of plywood that were on I-96 as I was coming in this direction into Portland. So, boy, there's pretty much the verification that we did have some debris aloft, and it got dumped onto 96. Again, it looks like they are going to be here for a long time. They've just gotten to put up some of the police tape here, keep people away from some of these buildings. People were able to get near them. I talked to one lady who worked at the Goodwill. She was not there at the time, but yeah, she knew some people who were, and from what she hears, everyone got out okay. So, yeah, it looks like, just from what I'm seeing, this was a tornado that came through, quite a bit of damage. And hard to tell where it began because I'm not in a vantage to see it. But that's the way it looks here, guys. It's pretty much a mess here in Portland.
Hey, Jim, I'm seeing a building on this video that we're playing from the reporter at your station, kind of kitty corner from the Rite Aid. I'm not sure if it's the Goodwill or not, but it looks like the whole building shifted or part of it sunk. Can you tell me what happened there?
Yeah,
it's a tan building.
That is the Goodwill building. And this is closer to the origin of that tornado itself. It's further to the west and northwest it did touch down and then came from the Goodwill across the main street over toward the Rite Aid and some other buildings. It looks like, of all things, it looks like there's an insurance building there too. And then a home right behind it. All that's left of that home that I can see is one long white beam, and that's it. The people that were in there got out okay. I actually had a chance to talk to them. What they were able to grab, her purse, and he grabbed an old antique music box, and that was it. So their house was gone.
Yeah, Jim, you said some of the trees were uprooted there. Was that right in that downtown area, or is that along the way as you were coming in?
That's right in this area. Really just on the other side of the parking lot from the Rite Aid, or just to the north of the Rite Aid. That's where these big trees are, and they're pretty much snapped off. So
any power lines down?
Fortunately, none that we could see. I did talk to one of the consumers' people, and they were here just to shut off the gas. They've shut off the gas in this area. They did have a gas leak at the Rite Aid, so they just shut off all the gas in this area. So far, I don't see the power lines down. What lines were down were phone lines.
Jim, you know, you're a meteorologist. You've been on scenes like this before. Do you have an estimate on how fast these wind speeds might have been in this, what looks like a tornado?
Boy, it's hard to say. Just on the damage here, and from where it came and hit these buildings, it's at least a 2, probably though a 3. Yeah, 3.
So we're looking at winds, I mean, over 115 miles an hour
Yeah,
possibly.
that's a significant storm.
The National Weather Service has their team headed out the door here in a moment to survey this damage and get a better look at it.
Very seldom you would have straight line wind damage in that EF3 category. We did during the 1998 storm, but that's a rare exception. Normally when you're talking about winds that fast, you're talking about small tornadoes touching down. This one does not look terribly wide here. Certainly want to remind people to stay away from this area. There's a lot of debris. You don't want to be stepping on nails, boards out there. You don't want to get in the way of emergency vehicles. And also, like I said, we don't know for sure that there isn't a power line down there.
Yeah, and one more note on this storm that makes us. It's another piece of convincing evidence that something like this was probably a tornado. We're seeing pretty substantial, concentrated damage, yet on radar we didn't see a massive thunderstorm. If you're going to have straight line winds from a storm like this, you're going to see tops to 50,000 feet.
I think it would originate from higher up in the storm.
Certainly it would.
All this happened under 2,100 feet. So.
Yeah. Okay, Brian and Sue?
Very much. We're continuing to track developments that are coming out of the situation in Portland as well. And Ken Kolker is on the ground there. He just talked with a family that has some severe damage to their home. Ken, what's that all about?
Yeah, actually, they lived in a home above the About You and Clippers hair design, which is right across the street from the Goodwill. Now, the Goodwill looks pretty flat, and they told me that they were in their home. She was on the phone, sitting in her lazy boy. He was sitting on the couch next to her, when all of a sudden it started raining sideways, and their roof was yanked right off from right above them. I mean, they looked up and the roof is gone. She said she laid on the floor and grabbed to the bottom of the lazy boy to keep from being sucked up. She actually felt what she said was a suction feeling, and he said he hung on to a doorknob, basically, and the house is pretty much level. The roof is gone, the back of the house is gone. And frankly, I don't know how they got out there without any injuries. Now, we do have an interview with that couple, and we plan to air that tonight at 5.
Ken, let me ask you a question about just driving into Portland proper. Were you, did you see any resistance as far as authorities, police? Do they have that scene locked down there? Because this is a tight little area there with a lot of businesses that might have sustained damage. Is there a police presence out there as far as just trying to maintain control?
Oh, absolutely. This is right off the highway. I mean, if you're going to Portland toward Lansing, if you hang a left and get off, there's the McDonald's there, and within maybe 2 blocks of the highway is where they've got the yellow police tape. More and more police are showing up. Matter of fact, I was just sort of yellow taped into an area, and they do have it blocked off, and they are assessing the area right now.
Hey, Ken, back to the people that you talked with that severe damage to their home. How long did they say all of that lasted? And did they think they were actually going to be swept away with that storm?
Oh, yeah. They believe it was a tornado. I mean, they felt that the suction, what they said was suction pulling them out. It only lasted for a matter of seconds, and then it was gone.
Wow, that fast.
I'm now being waved over by the fire chief, so it sounds like he wants to give us some kind of update. From what I understand, there were people trapped in the Goodwill, right across the street, but from what I understand, they're no longer trapped.
That's right.
That's what we're hearing as well. Yeah, 3 people were inside. We're told that they were able to get out. They're safe now.
Okay, Ken.
Okay, the Portland fire chief looks like he might be ready to give us a statement, so we'll move off to that.
Okay, Ken, we'll let you get back to work, and we'll have more from you, of course, as the coverage continues here. But just looking at the damage, so you can tell this was a pretty intense system. I mean, windows are smashed out, the insulation's all over the place. You see the damage to the First Baptist Church in Portland, heavily damaged. And this is a brick structure that a lot of the roof and the top of the facade has been ripped off. But a lot of these businesses, and there's the image of that First Baptist Church. This was an intense storm. Jim Geyer calling it an EF3. That was his on-ground estimation. Of course, no confirmation yet from the NWS as to whether or not this was a tornado. And there wasn't necessarily a tornado warning before.
Not an official one, no. We were, of course, tracking that severe weather, and saying that there was the possibility of tornadoes, but then this hit and quickly. Just Ken's, in talking with the people that had that damage to their home, just a matter of seconds. You can imagine all of a sudden you're sitting there, and then a couple of seconds later your roof is gone in the back of your home. I mean, must have been absolutely terrifying. Fortunately, very short-lived. He said the whole thing lasted maybe seconds for that couple while they were inside their home. We have seen video of a lot of debris scattered throughout the area. We've also been told there's a lot of standing water. The cleanup just beginning, and Storm Team 8 telling us that there is another wave of storms that are headed toward West Michigan. So we're not sure how this may compound problems there for them, but also throughout West Michigan there needs to be concern, and we'll continue to track that second wave of storms as it moves this way.
Yeah, they worry about the instability as it starts to heat up. Let's go out live to a live press conference right now with the fire chief.
I'm sorry, to my left, to my right is Ionia County Sheriff Dale Miller. Approximately 14:45 hours today, we started receiving calls of damages to buildings and high winds. Fire department, EMS, and police were dispatched at that time to the area. Currently, we have no serious injuries. We have some minor injuries. We have no fatalities at this time. We had some people trapped in some of the buildings. They have since been removed and are fine. The area pretty much encompasses most of the city of Portland, and if you go west out of Portland, some of that area has been struck. We have everything from complete collapse, which you can see here, to trees down on homes. We have had numerous gas leaks. We've had one reported structure fire, which is under control and out at this time. We have approximately 8 to 10 departments that have responded. I have the City of Lansing Metro team, which consists of Lansing, East Lansing, Meridian, Delta. They're handling the search and rescue end of it. That's pretty much where we're at right now with it. It's going to be an ongoing search. We're going to continue to look at the buildings, and we'll be going from there. Before you ask any questions, I'm going to let my law enforcement entities answer any questions you have for them, then we'll come back to me. Chief. Questions?
Where was the structure fire, I guess? Right
134, it was in town here, just up the street.
The first building that we were aware of that was collapsed was the Goodwill, and that was the only building that we found anybody was trapped in. There was a mother and 2 small children. There was an off-duty fireman and myself that were able to remove the 3 parties, and they were uninjured at all. We were able to clear most of the buildings here. The state police are now sending canines just to do a secondary check. They have the power and the gas shut off, and then we're going to spread out from here. Sheriff Miller is here, and obviously he's allocated most of his resources. The Michigan State Police is still sending more resources, but they have a large contingency already present. So once we get this area contained, we get the traffic under control, we're going to start searching the outlying areas to make sure that there's no one else trapped in their homes. So we do have a lot of downed trees. We do have a lot of homes that have roofs collapsed. But right now we have nobody that is reported as being trapped or unable to, that needs medical attention.
So there are no more reports of people being trapped, you're just doing a double check?
That's correct.
Okay.
Have any idea how many buildings you're going to have to check?
We have to check with the ambulance. I know all the injuries right now that have been reported are minor.
At this time, as far as buildings being checked, it's numerous. As you can see, this stretch needs to be completely checked. We've got buildings outside, residents need to be checked. One thing I need to get out right now to the public, we understand your concern, we understand your loved ones, but you need to stay out of the area. This area, the entire city right now is unsecured. We've got structures that are not secure. We've got gas leaks. Stay out of the area, please. I implore you. We'll try to update you again when we start finding out more things that are going on. But pretty much, in a nutshell, that's what's going on.
Do you have any idea how many people might be displaced from this?
Not right now. We're estimating right now, and I will not give an estimate.
How wide of a swath are we talking about the storm hitting?
It doesn't appear to be very wide. I live a mile out of town, and I don't have a leaf down in my yard. It was that narrow. And I cannot confirm that this was a tornado as at this time. I have no confirmation from NOAA or from the Weather Bureau.
I'm sorry, you might have said already, how many people total were trapped at one point in time?
At one point in time, we had 5 people. We had 3 in the store that you can see back there is completely collapsed, and 2 in the store, which would be to my right. And they were removed by law enforcement, fire, and fellow employees.
Has anyone needed medical attention?
Minor. No one has been transported to the hospital.
Those others who were trapped, were they in the right
2 there and 3 back there, correct.
Are you guys thinking of declaring a state of emergency over here? Any
Well, we're closing the town down. We've got traffic stopped on all parts of the town, trying to keep traffic out. A lot of sightseers are trying to come in. We're still trying to go through building by building, doing a rescue. We're doing grid searches outside of town to check for further damage, further victims. So we're still in the early process of taking care of the scene here. So we need the public's assistance on this and stay out of the area. Let us do our job, and hopefully we'll be able to find that everybody's okay.
Sheriff, occasionally you smell a little gas coming up here. Is that one of your big concerns? Do you still have these gas lines?
We have numerous representatives here from Consumer Energy. They're doing a sweep right now, as are the Metro teams. And folks, that's where we're going to leave it for right now. Thank you very much. Okay, probably about another hour, we'll do another briefing. That will be at, let's make that at 5:30 here.
Can I get your name a sec?
John Baker.
John Baker.
All right, you just caught that news conference from local officials here on the scene in Portland, the sheriff, the police chief, and the fire chief here in Portland. I want to give you a little tour of what we're seeing here on the scene. You also see the technical rescue crew starting to go in. They're going to start searching these buildings piece by piece, try to get through to them. You heard the law enforcement telling us just a few minutes ago, they don't think anybody's injured. They think everybody got out okay, 5 minor injuries. The problem is you have so many collapsed buildings, you have to go through each one of them bit by bit to confirm that nobody's in there. The other concern here, you still smell gas occasionally. There are still gas leaks as we move around here. They have to go shut those off. You heard the sheriff, you heard the police chief, you heard the fire chief urging people, stay out of Portland. The town is basically shut down right now. Nobody's being let in. You see a large contingent of MSP cars coming in as well. You see what's left of the Rite Aid across the street, so you can see when the wind hit that. We're also being asked to step back here so they can get some of these crews in. I'm going to step out of the way here. It is just a mess over here. They're moving us further down the street. And again, a lot of this is for the safety of the public. You can still smell the gas occasionally. They're also dealing with down power lines throughout the city. That's another real urgent concern here. As we move up to another small strip mall, it was didn't look like it had the damage that the rest of these towns. Take a look at the Goodwill building. That is what's left of the Goodwill building. I talked to a guy when we first got here who's from Oklahoma. You would think they would be used to tornadoes and this kind of thing. They just moved up here. His wife and children were in that Goodwill store. They heard the wind come. They heard the roof start to creak. She grabbed the children, covered them up, and the thing hit, and it came down around them. They were able to get them out okay. They're okay. We haven't been able to talk to the woman who was in there yet, but I talked to her husband and father-in-law. Very thankful that she and the kids are okay as we continue to move back. And I want to show you here, after you saw the Goodwill, this is what they have standing by over here, a whole fleet of ambulances. And again, just in case, they have not gone through all the structures they have to go through. They can't even put a number right now on how many structures may have been affected by this storm. Now, we say storm. It doesn't appear that anybody's confirmed what kind of storm it was, whether it was shear winds or a tornado. We'll leave that to the experts and the meteorologists. We do know that it's caused a lot of damage. Again, that was the VFW hall you saw, and looking back here across the street, across Grand River, and you see all the residual damage from the wind of these buildings. And it's so typical of storms like this. You see some damage in one area, destruction, and then you see minor damage in other areas. But again, the concern here is who haven't they found yet? Have they found everybody, I should say. Making sure everybody's okay, and then trying to shut this downtown down and try to keep everybody safe and try to keep traffic, the emergency traffic, from moving through. Because not only do you have the rescue crews coming through here, but you also have all the heavy equipment that has to come in to try to remove the trees, to try to remove chunks of roof, so they can get to anybody who may be in there, so they can get in and make sure nobody's in here. It is just a real mess here. And I asked the police chief, the fire chief, how big of a swath this thing covered. You know, it was a wide swath, narrow. He said it was rather narrow. He lives just a couple of miles east of town, and he said he didn't even have any leaves blown off the trees. So it was a very concentrated storm, very quick, and again, you can see the damage that happened here. Now, what's going to go on from here? Well, they've called emergency crews in from all over Ionia, Eaton County, the city of Lansing. The Lansing Regional Group is here. They're search and rescue. You see this piece of equipment right here. They are the crews that'll start going through these houses. They already have, and will continue through the night, getting through, trying to check all these structures. And again, you're seeing all this major damage here, but there are a lot of homes in the residential area just to the west that are heavily damaged too. Trees uprooted, just a mess down there as well. So they have to go through a lot of those. I asked if they could put a number on how many structures they had to go through. At this point, they just don't know. So it is going to be a very, very long night here in Portland. Again, as you can see, the state police have also brought a helicopter in. We believe they have one of their drones checking over the area too. They're going to assess just how widespread this is. They'll look at hot spots, if you will, and then they'll send these emergency crews to those individual places with all this specialized equipment. And of course, when you get into a trap situation, you can't just start digging into something. You have to use special equipment. You have to use a lot of care because you don't want another collapse. That's another concern on their part, along with the gas, along with all the traffic coming through here. So you can see they have a major situation on their hands, a major challenge, just getting through to make sure everybody's okay, and then dealing with the aftermath as well. So I'm going to take a quick break here to show you again all the crews on the scene and throw it back to you.
All right, Joe LaFurgey reporting live out there. A lot of damage, as you can see in that live shot. And if you're not familiar with this area of Portland that we're talking about, for those of you that do the 96 Shuffle,
oh yes,
this is right off the interstate, Grand River Avenue. All of those fast food restaurants, that little business district there, that's the area we're talking about that took the brunt of this storm today. The fire chief of Portland, John Baker, saying this is still an unsecured area.
That's
He
right.
wants people to stay out of the area. As Joe mentioned, they've got gas leaks and whatnot going on, so this is still somewhat of an active scene. But the good news is today, boy, people were lucky.
Right, minor injuries,
They were
not
lucky.
right.
No warning.
No.
Didn't know
Not
it was
an
coming.
official warning.
Other than the forecast that we saw that storms are rolling through.
Sure, the possibility of
tornado.
severe storms, right, but they had no official sirens or any
No.
warning like that for a tornado, so very scary. The gas has been shut off to that area, the power has been shut off to that area. There are some spotty leaks throughout there, so authorities saying please stay out of that area, let them do their job so that they can check all of those buildings around there that have sustained damage to make sure that there aren't any people inside that may still be trapped. Right now they don't think so, but they have to go to those structures and make sure that everyone's okay and make sure that they can clear those areas and make sure that everyone is accounted for. So certainly a scary situation, certainly one for that woman with her two small children in that Goodwill store that
Yes.
came out without any injury as well. I can only imagine how terrifying that must have been when you look at the damage to that Goodwill store.
They're lucky, and the couple that Ken Kolker was talking about, they were lucky as well. We just got some tape into the station of that couple who endured their roof coming off during the storm. Let's listen to that.
What happened?
We literally were just sitting in the house, and I was talking on the phone with my daughter-in-law on the other side of the city, and she said, wow, the rain's weird. And I said, it's not even raining here. And then within the next
2 minutes?
2 minutes, I said, oh my gosh, it's starting here. And then pretty soon it went sideways, and then our walls just started shaking and pictures falling off. And before we knew it,
The roof was gone.
it just lifted up the roof and it was gone.
That is just amazing.
What a vivid description.
And then, unbelievable. And then Ken saying after he talked with them, the whole backside of their house was gone as well. The roof tore off. She had to hang onto the leg of a chair and felt a suction. Yeah. Wow. Very scary.
So that must have been the apex of wherever that storm was pretty much on top of their house.
Touching down right there. They lived right behind the Goodwill store. But we were told this is a very concentrated area that sustained all of this damage, but yet they do have a helicopter in the sky that Joe showed us there live on TV during his hit, and he was saying that, you know, they're trying to see just how widespread it is, but it is still believed to be a very concentrated area, again, going door to door.
So again, a recap, what appears to be at this point a tornado hit in Portland this afternoon at about 2:45. Police and fire reporting damage to several buildings in that area. No serious injuries, some minor injuries, no fatalities. That's the good news out of this storm. There was no warning. We knew that the line of thunderstorms were coming through. There was earlier warnings maybe further to the west, but for that particular area of Portland, no sirens ever went off other than seeing what was happening outside their window.
24-hour News 8's Rick Albin is standing by in the newsroom right now. Rick?
Yeah, one of the first things that we thought about was reaching out to part of the administration in the state, not only because the state may have some role in rebuilding this, but Lieutenant Governor Brian Kelly, this is your hometown, so I'll start this interview someplace I wouldn't normally. Have you been in touch with your family? Is everybody in the Kelly family safe after this storm?
Yes, thankfully. Our house is about 2 miles south of where the damage is, so everybody was fine, but as you can't imagine, reached out right away.
Lieutenant Governor, you know this area. You grew up there. You know a lot about this. This is that area just off the interstate. We can see, I've got a picture right behind me that is of that Goodwill store that is just flattened. What do you know about the damage? We heard the chief say so far no serious injuries. Nobody even transferred to the hospital. Is that what you're hearing as well?
It is, and thank God for that. It's a when you see the extensive damage, particularly the Goodwill store, but how many roofs were off and debris that was flying around. The fact that there are no serious injuries known at this point is something we're very, very thankful for. And the key is, I think, we just got to let the emergency services people do their work. And so I'm proud of what they do. They practice for this stuff. Very excellent professional people that are on the job right now, and I know that they'll get the job done.
Given that, have you had a chance to view any of this firsthand, or are you just getting information kind of like we are? Reporters are there, we're seeing live pictures, but have you been able to see any of this firsthand?
I happen to be quite a ways away in another part of Michigan at the moment, and so I'm seeing the images the same way that you are. But at the end of the day, the last thing we need is a politician getting in their way right now.
Well, at that point, you're probably exactly right. But in a day or two, it is certainly possible the state may have a role in this. And I know I don't want to second guess any of this, but if there is some effort to reach out to the state, what are the procedures? What do you have to go through? You have to come up with declarations of emergency and that type of thing. Is that the process?
Basically, it is. Yeah, it is. The local government folks will do an assessment and determine if there was the need to declare a disaster of some sort, and at that point, it's elevated to the state. Seeing the damage, I mean, it looks very extensive, but it would be premature for me to speculate on whether or not the locals would feel this is something to elevate to the state or not.
Lieutenant Governor, first of all, thank you very much for being on with us here this evening. We are glad to hear that your family is all safe, and I hope that over the next few days that we'll be able to talk with you, perhaps on camera or maybe even live, so we can get a better sense of your take on this happening right literally in your backyard. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, well, there you heard it, Brian and Sue. Lieutenant Governor Brian Kelly. He's not just Lieutenant Governor, but his family lives there. His wife's part of the county government there. They have a big impact. He has talked to them. They're all safe, and now he, like the rest of us, assessing the damage in that area. And so far, the best news is that it appears that there are no serious injuries. Back up to you.
Okay, Rick, thank you. If you're just joining us, let's talk a little bit about what we've been covering for several hours now. And that is that it appears to be that a tornado did touch down in the Portland area off of East Grand River Avenue. That is just off of I-96 in Portland. Several structural buildings damaged, a lot of extensive damage, some groundwater covering the area, some no injuries, no serious injuries at least, some minor injuries reported. That Goodwill store completely leveled by the video that we've been showing you. Authorities are asking everyone to stay out of that area while they assess the damage and make sure that they can help some people. They're going door to door to make sure that any people may still be trapped. They don't know of any, but they want to check and make sure.
The good news, again, no one seriously hurt, no fatalities out of this storm. When you went on the air at noon today, Sue, the meteorologists, Matt and Terry, were talking about the possibility of waves of these storms rolling through today. There was fear that there would be another line moving through later tonight. We've got an update on those later systems. Let's go down to Storm Team 8 and Kyle and Bill with an update on what may be ahead for tonight, guys.
Well, bottom line, we have a chance of another thunderstorm springing to life here this evening, but there's also a chance that nothing will happen. We've been taken out of the enhanced risk area from the Storm Prediction Center. That is now south of us. And here's a look at radar. First of all, you can see the area that's come through us. Still a lot of lightning. Detroit area up toward Port Huron really getting pounded right now. Here's the severe thunderstorm watch, which is in effect until 9 o'clock, but you can see there's really nothing going on here across most of the watch area at the current time. There are storms off to the west of us here, and you can see they are not moving northeast towards us. They are drifting, if anything, off to the east-southeast and would pass south of Chicago and South Bend. So the question is, we have a cold front out here. Does anything develop along that front? And at this point in time, it's about a 50-50 proposition. Certainly want to stay up with later forecasts as we continue to track the situation, but as of this point, there is nothing threatening West Michigan at the current time. The storms that are out here in Illinois are drifting off toward the east-southeast. So hopefully we can get through this evening without any other significant problems. We do have a little bit of standing water around in places. You'll have to watch out for that. Also keep in mind that there have been a few spots that have had damage. Clay Avenue here in Grand Rapids from 44th up to around 36th. Some trees down there and perhaps some wires. Consumers Power reports there are some power outages. They are working on those. Anytime you have a severe weather situation moving through, you certainly want to watch out for down power lines. And also, don't go in Lake Michigan. When we have thunderstorms that kind of mess up the wind field like that, you can have the wind pushing on the water, creating some rather interesting rip and structural currents. You certainly don't want to be swimming near the Grand Haven Pier, which is actually a breakwater at the during the evening period here. You want to get your toes wet or something like that, that's okay. But water temperatures are pretty chilly out there, and you certainly don't want to go into water more than waist deep with the possibility of those currents here through this evening. But like I said, hopefully we'll get through the evening without any major problems. We'll have an update for you coming up straight ahead at 5.
Okay. Bill, thank you. Just moments ago, we did have a live press conference. We were talking with authorities out in Portland, telling us the details of what's going on and how they're attacking the situation there after that storm rolled on through. 24-hour News 8's Joe LaFurgey is standing by. He was there for that news conference. He joins us now with details on what they were talking about. Joe?
Yeah, Sue, and they can't emphasize the point enough. Stay out of Portland. Don't come here. Stay out of the way because you are seeing all these emergency crews. This is what they have to deal with. Take a look over at what was once was a restaurant. The roof gone. More destruction just beyond that. You take a look at the old Rite Aid drugstore here. The whole facade ripped off that. That is what they're dealing with. A fast food restaurant, the sign's missing, the facade torn off that as well. And we'll take a little walk. We'll come back this way. And just to explain, you can see the operation going on right now. That's a technical rescue trailer out of Lansing. They will use specialized equipment throughout the night to get through all the damaged structures here in the Portland area. They have to go piece by piece, and now that's the reason. If you see right through there, that is the Goodwill store through there. That is what they have to contend with. They have to take that stuff apart piece by piece so they don't have something else move the wrong way and bring the rest of it down. Again, they're telling us they don't believe anybody's trapped. They think everybody got out, but until they go through structures like that, and there are several of them through the city, they won't know for sure. So they have to go through there again, piece by piece, taking every little piece off, being very, very delicate with it, so they don't disturb something and bring the rest of it down on either somebody who may still be in there or somebody, one of the would-be rescuers here. So it is going to be a very long night. We talked about how many buildings they have to go through. At this point, they don't know. That is why they have essentially flooded the zone here. You see all these rescue crews from throughout Eaton County, Ingham County, obviously Ionia County, where we're at. Pardon me. That is what they need just to get through everything and try to make sure that they've caught everybody. You see that truck from East Lansing taking off. They're going west into the residential areas of Portland. Trees down, streets blocked, houses damaged. They have to start going through those homes as well. Again, a multiple number of damaged structures here in Portland, not just concentrated here in the downtown area, but throughout the community, especially to the west of where we're standing right now. So that gives you an idea of the difficulty of this operation. Again, the good news is they don't think anybody else is trapped. The bad news is they have to make sure they have to go through. And again, they're asking people to stay out of Portland. If you can imagine, when we were coming in, we made our way in from the west. And all these residential streets, all the damage, all these huge trees uprooted, they have to get through all that. So they have to bring in not only the rescue crews, but heavy equipment, backhoes, front end loaders, that sort of thing, to try to get through, to try to remove some of the debris so they can just get to some of the damaged structures. Really an amazing storm. And again, they're telling us, the folks with the badges around here, the sheriff, the fire chief, the police chief, again, please stay out of here because they don't want any extra people here. Multiple dangers they're still dealing with, not only collapse zones like this, but you also catch an occasional whiff of natural gas. There are power lines down. Those are dangers that they have to get at individually, one at a time. They're working to try to get at those, but they can't get all of them at once. So again, it's a very, very difficult situation to deal with. They have brought a lot of rescue personnel in to try to get through this, but it's going to take some time and patience and, quite honestly, some luck. Hopefully the rain holds off. They don't get any more storms down here and no more problems with the weather. But this is going to be a very, very long night here in Portland. And just to try to give you a flavor of what they have to go through, what they have to do to make sure everybody's safe in this town, and it is going to be quite a difficult operation. If you can see over here, let's take a walk, Mike, over to the VFW hall. That was had a slight amount of damage as well. And that right now is a staging area for a lot of the rescue personnel, a lot of the ambulances here. You can see ambulances throughout here. Those, again, here as a precaution. They hope they don't need them. 5 minor injuries so far, nothing serious. That is some very good news despite all the damage here. But they have all these ambulances standing by just in case they find. Now, you think of it, they probably have nobody, and probably everybody's accounted for in these large commercial buildings, but you think about these small, the houses throughout the city. You may have a family in there, and if in fact they didn't all get out, they're going to need all this kind of rescue personnel, all the ambulances to respond to that as well. So here again, you got a really difficult situation here, a lengthy situation. They think again, the good news is that nobody's been injured and they don't have anybody trapped, but until they can get through all these damaged structures, they won't know for sure. So just to reiterate, don't come to Portland. You watch our coverage, we'll be on throughout the evening, but if you come here with no real purpose, you're going to just get in the way. So just stay out of the area. We'll be giving you updates throughout the evening, obviously. Back to you.
Well, certainly authorities need to do their job, and they have a lot to do, Joe. You're right. A lot of dangers in the area. And when we listened to that news conference, Joe, I remember the fire chief mentioning something about a small structural fire as well. They do have that under control.
Yeah, it seems to that they have that under control. We heard the calls coming out here that they did have a small structure fire. And again, once you get any kind of collapse like this, especially in a larger building, you're going to get gas lines that fail. And it could be something as simple as a water heater. But you're going to get gas and you're going to get sparks as these buildings collapse. And that's going to cause a fire. The problem with these types of fires, now everybody got out okay, but they smolder quite a bit because it's not a free fire like you would normally have in a building that's not collapsed. It gets in there and it's a lot of multiple layers burning. So again, it's kind of like the rescue effort or the search effort. They have to pick everything apart. So that makes the job difficult as well. But they were able to get that fire out, fortunately. And again, nobody injured in that.
Just looking at the scene there, still unfolding down in Portland. A very active situation, as Joe said. They don't want anyone there. Unaware, though, Grand River Avenue is quite a busy stretch, so you got to believe that that area is just inaccessible at this point. If you're traveling in the area, you should anticipate delays out there. And just reading some of the comments from social media from folks who appeared to have endured this event in Portland today, a lot of frustration about the only sirens they heard were the emergency responders coming after the storm had hit. So they knew something bad had happened, but very tricky it sounds like, because a lot of folks just experiencing rain, maybe some wind, and then maybe a lot more wind.
And then all of a sudden, right, when talking with Ken Kolker, talking with those homeowners that lost the roof and the back of their home, they said it was that fast. I mean, they were sitting, next thing they know, it was raining, then it went sideways, and then the roof was gone. So scary situation there for sure.
Let's go down now to 24-hour News 8's Rick Alban, who's in monitoring some of the events in the newsroom. Rick?
Yeah, just what you're talking about out there. We don't know if it was a tornado, a straight line wind, a downburst, whatever it was. We'll let Storm Team 8 and the NWS try to figure that out. But here's what we do know. It caused a heck of a lot of damage. Here are just some of the pictures that are up at woodtv.com right now. I believe this may be certainly close to a church. I don't know if that's the Baptist church we looked at earlier. We've seen this picture since early on, a look back towards some of the business area that's been damaged. Here at the heavy flooding, this is right by Tom's Supermarket. I think this is from the Shell gas station. As you look back across that way, or maybe to the little mall just to the other side of it, there again, the same area where Tom's, Family Dollar, all of these things are just across the street. In other words, this entire area, if you've ever been there, if you've ever gone to Portland, if you've gone off, taken that exit off, you see the Golden Arches, just beyond that is where that Goodwill store was. There is a lot of damage. Joe put it very well, don't go to Portland. They don't want you there. There's nothing you can do. The emergency services people are there, and all the information about your loved ones or anybody, if you haven't gotten it already, and it seems that many people have, you will relatively soon. What else we can bet is that there are some power outages around the state. We'll try to see if we can zoom in on some of these just a little bit and find out a little better what it is like. It doesn't look like it is all that dramatic in terms of numbers, although we just don't know how much is reporting, because if you look at this from the consumer's outage map, it doesn't really seem to show much. 1 to 50 in this particular area right here. This would be the first exit, this would be the second exit, this would be Grand River. So I have to believe that there's some outages here that just aren't showing up. And then there's a larger outage area down here. So there may be some shift in the map, or maybe just some that aren't showing up right there in Portland. But those are some of the things that they're dealing with right now, not to mention that you're going to start getting an influx of traffic. Now there is some good news from the Lansing area. That traffic that would normally be coming back through 96 will be considerably lighter. The House and Senate are out of session. Many of the staffers won't be traveling. So that should be a little lighter, but we don't know what kind of congestion that's going to cause through there as we start to build up to the rush hour period of time, because obviously it's not just Portland. There are a lot of emergency services vehicle. We don't know what kind of limbs and other things are down. So as we develop over the next hour to 2 hours, we'll get a better sense both of the damage that's going on in Portland and the inconvenience factor, which is much less important, obviously, but what that may cause over the next couple of hours, and we'll continue to keep you updated. Obviously, go to woodtv.com because we've got more pictures, more video, more information that you can see right there. Brian, Sue?
Okay, Rick, thank you. Of course, rescue crews continuing to assess the damage. As Rick mentioned, as Joe mentioned, they have to go to all of those homes that are damaged and smaller businesses, go inside and see if there's any kind of a situation that someone may still be trapped. They don't know. They have to check on those things, and delicately to make sure that there isn't any further collapse on them or someone that may be inside. How will the weather affect that with this second band of storms that are rolling through the area? For that, we want to turn to Storm Team 8. Kyle Underwood standing by. Kyle, what do rescuers have to deal with as this next set of storms may roll through?
Brian, Sue, some good news first. It looks like we have a period of several hours here with dry and perhaps even sunny weather from time to time. And so cleanup is going to be, it won't be hampered by weather, at least here through perhaps early evening, certainly the rest of this afternoon through 9 or 10 o'clock. You can see the big cluster of storms. That's the most obvious thing that's visible on radar right now, affecting western Lake Erie, eastern Lake Huron, eastern parts of the state. We've got a big cold front off to the north and west. Now keep in mind, even though we still had these storms roll through, it's still warm out there. It is still humid. We still have an unstable atmosphere. There's a big cold front off to our west. We're starting to see some thunderstorms pop up here near Duluth, stretching down towards St. Cloud and the Twin Cities of Minnesota. This is going to slide our way. I expect this to be a rapidly moving system here, so even though it's a whole state away and a lake, we are going to see some storms here later tonight. Now, the severity of those storms is in question right now. It's in doubt to some degree. The Storm Prediction Center has moved the highest risk area for severe weather just to the south of Michigan right here. We are still in what's called the slight risk area, which means we do have some degree of threat for severe weather later tonight, but the higher threat is a little bit to our south. Now back to that cold front. This is going to be what will trigger the strong thunderstorms for us later tonight. Tracking the leading edge of that broken line of storms here into West Michigan, it looks like it's going to arrive here around 10 or after. So this is going to be a post-sunset event for us later tonight. What we're expecting, if this materializes as we anticipate, is some strong thunderstorms. Straight line winds will be the primary factor. And I also believe that this will be a linear structure. This will be a line of storms. It will not be discrete cells. And storms that are in a straight line are a lot less likely to produce tornadoes and tornado damage. Straight line wind damage, if anything, here in West Michigan is what I'm anticipating later tonight. And I want to make a comment. You know, some folks are lamenting the fact that tornado sirens were not sounded for this storm. Along with the Weather Service here at Storm Team 8, we were looking at this scan by scan by scan. And just one of the limitations of radar is that when you're far away from the site, which the radar site is located at the airport here in Grand Rapids, eastern Ionia County, almost 50 miles away, the curvature of the earth actually comes into play. So the lowest that the radar can see is about 2,100 feet above ground level. And the cloud bases were about there. So if there was a tornado, which it looks like, I mean, the evidence is very compelling at this point that this was a tornado, but if there was a tornado, it was actually below the beam of the tornado. And so I want to give that explanation to folks in Portland who are saying, hey, how come the sirens didn't go off? How come there was no tornado warning issued? There was no evidence of this on radar from what we were seeing this afternoon. It was simply a matter of physics and the fact that that tornado, if it developed, was below the beam of the radar, so it was impossible to detect. But yeah, back to your original question, it looks like we have several hours here soon, Brian, of good weather for cleanup and additional search and rescue. Of course, they're still searching buildings, even though we believe we have everybody accounted for. But our next chance of storms arrives likely after 9 or 10 p.m. later tonight.
Okay. Kyle, thank you for that. A good explanation, too. I don't think anybody's laying blame, but there was some confusion. Because I know earlier, a lot of the meteorologists, at least Terry and Matt at noon, were wondering, they were kind of almost anticipating, when is the warning going to go out? When are they going to give the warning? It never came.
They did talk about that. They did talk about that, actually, yeah. And they were saying, you know, we're monitoring what's going on with the National Weather Service, and we're seeing things as they roll in. They did a lot of, you know, tracking to see when they were going to get here. We certainly all knew that the storms were coming. We've been talking about that for a long time. The severity of that pocket in that concentrated area, a bit of a surprise.
Absolutely. Yeah. We continue to cover this story. Joe LaFurgey was one of the first reporters on scene in that business district along Grand River Avenue in Portland. He's moved down the road a little bit and giving us a better vantage point of some of the damage there. Joe?
Yeah, Brian, you know, it's amazing. You just take a couple steps. We just moved across Grand River and just take a look at from another vantage point. Take a look through just above that red Jeep there. You see the roof. Now, we believe that's a Goodwill store. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's a Goodwill store. Just sheared right off. Then pan over here just a little bit to the east, and you see the haircut salon there. And take a look at the back. Nothing but debris blowing in the wind. And then take a look at the Rite Aid. The front facade gone, trash all over the place. Part of the side gone here as well. This we believe is a former fast food restaurant. It doesn't look like it was in use at the time, but take a look at what the wind can do. Shearing out. Now this is relatively new damage. This is all glass that has been broken out by that pounding of the wind when it comes through. Just shattering it and just making a real mess. And if you continue through the lots here, you can see all the debris from these different buildings, portions of a 2x4, and you got to wonder how far that flew in this wind, where this came from. It could be a number of places, but it's just frightening. And look at the jagged edges of it. A sign tossed around, for sale sign. And you continue through here, and you just see, pardon me, the trash strewn around. Some signs ripped off this. So, you know, 2 doors down, there's massive destruction. And here there is, well, take a look at this. Here's another thing you discover as you're walking around. A trailer tipped over on its side. That's a large trailer. But then again, right next door, just some trash, a couple signs tossed about. So it's amazing when you cover these storms just to see how selective they can be. I talked to the sheriff about how wide of a swath this storm created. And he said it was actually pretty narrow, considering. Just seemed to hit one area, but boy, the areas it hit was just terrible. And I go back to coming in for some of the residential neighborhoods to the west, and the trees uprooted, large, old trees just pull right up out of the ground. Now, again, they're telling us just be careful if you come here. Don't come to town if you don't have to. And if you are in town, try to stay around your house. Don't be walking around. There are still down power lines. There are still, from time to time, gas leak. And take a look through here. It looks like a mobile home park right through there. And you can see the tree that it was uprooted. There, all the trash containers behind the Rite Aid drugstore. all torn up. You know, of course, that debris starts to fall through the air, starts to fly through the air. The velocity, the speed can be pretty amazing. That can do a lot of damage too. Back here in the parking lot of the drugstore, and you can see state police gathering here. They will be part of this effort to go through all these buildings tonight, try to go through the city of Portland, try to make sure that nobody else is in here. There'll be a lot of police protection here, a lot of police presence just to shut the town down to make sure nobody else comes in who doesn't belong here. I don't know if you can see off in the distance, the state police helicopter has been patrolling this area since the time we got here. They deployed that pretty quick after the storm hit, and after they got an idea of the magnitude of the storm. And again, this is really amazing when you come through this town and see the damage that's done. It is just incredible, and it is really incredible that so far there have been no serious injuries, 5 minor injuries, and that's about it. Brian?
Great live reporting there on the scene in Portland after what is believed to be a tornado roared through there today at about 2:45. That's when the first reports started to come in that something had happened in Portland. We knew the weather had been coming all along. Storm Team 8 has been tracking the system for a couple of days now, anticipating we had a big chance of having some severe weather, and it did materialize a little to our areas east this afternoon.
Certainly did. Let's check in with the 24-hour tracking center right now. Kyle Underwood is standing by to talk a little bit more about what could be coming our way and what's happening on the ground. Ellen Baca is standing by. Am I right, Kyle?
Yeah, we have Ellen Baca, our Storm Team 8 meteorologist. She's on the scene. She's seen evidence that is very convincing that this is a tornado. I also understand the National Weather Service has just showed up with a survey crew, so they're going to be evaluating the damage also. But, you know, with the evidence that we're seeing, not only from photos, the way this debris has been lofted and the way the damage has been spread out, in addition to meteorologists on the scene, Jim Geyer from our affiliate in Lansing, and Ellen Baca, who's standing by right now. She's on the scene in Portland. Ellen, we want to get your thoughts on what you're seeing so far.
Well, Kyle, we're definitely seeing massive storm damage across this town. Not one, but several streets have buildings that are damaged. We also have a lot of trees that are thrown over. Now, some of them do have those high wind signatures to them where the entire tree is tipped over. However, there have been several trees that I've seen, 60-foot trees that are completely snapped in two. We're seeing pines, we're seeing oaks. Some of them have that twisted nature, very indicative of a tornado. The other thing that we're seeing that supports this theory of a tornado is the fact that damage is coming from all sides. You see this damage scattered, laying across itself. So it's not this high wind event where you see everything laid down in one very uniform nature. Instead, we're seeing things ripped across, ripped off buildings, shingles that are gone, siding that's gone, pieces of debris that's shoved into the sides of houses. So actually, I'm running down Jane Street right now on a private tour. I'm one of the only people to see some of this storm damage yet, and it does look strong enough to be what I would call an EF1, if not an EF2 tornado.
Okay, and that concurs with other meteorologist reports that we're getting. We spoke with Jim Geyer. He's the meteorologist from our sister station, WLNS in Lansing. He had the benefit of driving in from the east. Now, this storm was moving from west to east, and if it was a tornado and lofted debris up into the air, that would have been scattered to the east. Ellen, you came in from the west, so you probably didn't see debris until you got to the actual scene. Let me ask you this. In terms of straight mile-per-hour wind event, how fast do you think the winds were going based on the damage you're seeing?
Definitely upwards of 100 miles per hour. And you're right, we didn't see any debris coming in, approaching from the west side of town. It wasn't until we got into the town that we started to see all these trees down and all that debris thrown. So I would say upwards of 100 miles per hour, definitely. Not just a weak tornado, but probably approaching a moderate tornado with some of the damage that we've seen sustained to the buildings.
Okay, Ellen Baca, stay safe out there. No doubt we'll be hearing more from you coming up on 24-hour News 8 at 5 in a few minutes. Brian and Sue?
Well, thank you, Ellen. Thank you for your assessment there. It's pretty much on track with what everybody's saying. You know, pretty severe, hit hard, and when it did, boy, it ripped a lot of things apart there.
Like it.
You saw that building collapse, that Goodwill building, and a lot of the debris scattered throughout the area. Gas leaks in the area, power outages. We're going to continue to track this. This, of course, happening in Portland, and we've been tracking it for you and been on air all afternoon. We'll continue to stay on the air and bring you 24-hour News 8 at 5 coming up next.
Yep, still an active story. We'll continue with our live team coverage, both from Portland, and we'll get you caught up on the other news of the day around West Michigan. It's all ahead on your 24-hour News 8 at 5.